All right, it is June 5th, 5:45 p.m. We're going to call this Finance Committee meeting to order. Present are council members Barker, Chute, Hauser, Marmy, and Labudison for Lang. First item is to report that the unappropriated balance of the general fund is at $1,823,569. And the cash balance of the budget stabilization fund is $1,416,130. First item on the agenda is a request for appropriation in the amount of $127,759.55.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations, Ken. Yes, in front of you, this was accounted for. It wasn't a line item in the budget that was approved prior to the year. The money was there. This is a new payment and it wasn't late, for lack of better terms. So that's all it is. But the money was already planned for, so I appreciate your support on this. Motion. Second.
Motion by Barker, second by Hauser. Any questions and or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor send us on full council signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a request for appropriation in the amount of $135,480.62.
Good evening. So this, the 40th Street Tamarack water line has been going in for the last couple of years. This is the final change order to just finalize the project changes that happened during the project for miscellaneous water line improvements and site improvements to the project area. Motion. Second.
Motion by Barker, second by Hauser. Any questions and or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor send us on full council signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you. And with that, this finance committee meeting stands adjourned. Next up is service.
I will call the service committee meeting to order. Those present are myself, Brad, Harris, Parker, Blind, and Chute. Up first, consider a resolution 23-54, resolution authorizing interrupting the public service of the city of Newark, Ohio, to apply for, accept, and enter into water supply revolving loan account agreement on behalf of the city of Newark for planning, design, and or construction of lead service line replacement project number 4 is designated as dedicated repayment source for the loan. Yes, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you. So this is, we've been talking about these lead service lines and galvanized service line replacement projects. This will be for number 4 out of, we're thinking 11 or 12 total projects. We did submit a loan nomination for the next 2 projects in 24, which would be in December of this year and June of 2024. This is for the December project. We were tentatively awarded these funds, and the funds are still being awarded at a 53% principal forgiveness through EPA, through DEPA. And the other 47% is at 0% interest. So we've still got 4,000 or 5,000 these lead service lines. I'm sure folks are seeing the work that's going on around the city. But we're now working on our current 400. This would be for the next 400 that would be done in starting in December of 2023.
Questions from committee? Questions from the audience? See none, all those in favor of passing this on to the council? Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
I make a motion.
Motion by Harris,
Second.
Second.
second by Barker. You guys are usually so quick. that I don't even get to ask you this question before we nominate you. Come on, let's go with it. All right, we have a motion by Harris, seconded by Barker. No questions or comments? All those in favor of passing this on to council, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion will carry. Thank you. Pass 5-0. Thank you, sir. Up next, the resolution authorizing the Director of Public Service for the City of Newark, Ohio, to enter into a lease agreement with Strong Tower Christian Media. Mr. Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As many of you know, we have a tower on top of Horns Hill. It is a tower that we've looked at with previous safety directors and kind of looked at the direction of what we want to do with that tower. We were approached by a group by the name of Strong Media. It's a Christian-based company. They're out of Cincinnati. I've been talking with them for about a year, and we decided to have the tower mapped and then structural assessment of the tower. We cleaned all the trees that were leaning over the guide wires. You've got to have a light that works on top of the tower. And we're looking to have the opportunity to enter into a lease agreement with them, it'll be a 5-year term, $9,000 a year. And we will also at that time look at all the items that are on the tower that are not currently being used, and we will bring those items down, which will lessen the load on the tower. So to do things like that, you need to put the Sheriff's Department, Homeland Security, the schools, EMA, county maintenance. So there's a whole lot of people involved in this tower that nobody really wants to claim ownership of, but it is a city's tower. But everybody wants to hang something, but in this case, this group will pay us $9,000 a year to hang something.
Without divulging any technical information, is that tower being used for anything current?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Barker. Second by Blind. Questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director, so you said other things that are hanging on it. Is this other antennas? for-
Other antennas, some of them are in service, some of them are not.
Okay.
And the ones that are not, we want to bring down. The tower really has been up there and it's kind of been a hodgepodge management. And we're really going to take control of the management properly. There's been conversation in the past that maybe we ought to lower it a little bit. There's been conversation in the past, maybe we ought to bring it down. But our structural analysis of it will show that it's worthy of a few more years
Yeah.
in there.
Can I do a follow?
Yes.
Thank you. So the income from the rent, where is the income going to?
City of Newark General Fund.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing this on the council, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That'll pass 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. Up next, resolution 23-57. A resolution authorizing the conveyance of certain real property now owned by the city of Newark, Ohio, to Newark Development Partners as its agent for industrial, commercial distribution and research.
This is a small piece of property off Fifth Street. It adjoins to a property that's owned by Mr. Stan Smith, Stan Smith, and Stan Ford. Yeah, this is Stan Smith. It's a tennis show. Stan Ford.
Right, because you're getting old, huh?
I know I'm going bald, but I'm not great like. Anyway, Stan Ford, but Stan and I've talked about this for about a year now, and we've decided that the property is best in his hands and adjoins a piece of property he has. The transfer to Newark Development Partners is something, there's some fees that are true to that. Stan will pay those fees. And then Newark Development Partners will convey it to Stan, similar to what we did 2 weeks ago.
Thank you.
So that's what I'm asking you to do.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Parker, seconded by Klein. Questions or comments from the committee? Questions or comments from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing this on to council, signify by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion will carry with a vote of 5-0. You two can complain about hair all you want. I'd be happy with you the longer you had hair. Darn better.
You knew me when I was thinner and I knew when you had hair.
Up next, resolution number 23-59. A resolution implementing section 3735.65 through 3735.70 of the Ohio Revised Code, establishing and describing the boundaries of a community reinvestment area in the city of Newark, Ohio, and related authorization. Mr. Mott.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Hope you're all well as well. I have 5 copies of CRA number 5 for the committee members. Harris, Mr. Marmy, I might be left out on that, but it's just a map of the CRA number 5. The legislation pertains to this evening. I know Councilman Shute is new to this. I'm not sure what your familiarity and knowledge of CRAs are, so a little bit of education. CRA number 5 has been in existence, golly, since 1992. And you need to know a little bit about CRAs is they are put in one of 2 categories. They are either pre-1994 or they are post-1994. When CRA number 5 was put into existence, it was done before 1994, so it has been a pre-1994 CRA for the city of Newark. Now, the Ohio Revised Code states that once you do 3 revisions to a pre-94 CRA, it then has to become a post-1994 CRA. This body, this council, back in December of 2021, passed that 3rd revision to the CRA number 5. So we needed to implement a post-1994 CRA. That's what this legislation is all about this evening. And one of the things you'll notice in the legislation under the whereas, we need to do what's called a housing survey. And I worked with Mr. Steve Lehman to do this housing survey. It's pretty lengthy, about 40 pages. That we need to submit with this approved and voted on legislation to the Ohio Department of Development. Once we have submitted City of Newark's legislation, our housing survey, and the map that you have in front of you, to Ohio Department of Development, they will review it and hopefully give us a blessing on that. We proceed to have this now in a post-1994 status. So that's my introduction, and I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, I'll ask a question. When this legislation comes to council, are you going to have your housing survey attached, as it says in the legislation?
I can certainly have Janine do that. Yeah, like I said, it's about 40 pages. To be honest with you, about 35 of those pages are photographs showing the condition of the area. And then the other several pages is a text, giving a report on a number of digital statistics.
Is it all in a digital file?
Yes,
Would you email that, please, to members of council?
be glad to.
Would appreciate it.
Next.
Amy?
Well, go ahead, sir.
No, it's up to Jeff.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I just lost control of the meeting completely. Mr. Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director, free to post. What's the main difference? I believe, I understand it, but I want to make sure everybody on the committee does. I believe it's the school district now has to approve.
In a pre-1994 CRA, an application is submitted to my office. It's very simple. It's basically a 1-page, 8.5 by 11. Specific information such as parcel number, how much money was invested in the property, etc. All I have to do is make sure the paperwork is complete, that any building permits that were required to do the work at those project sites has been submitted. There's a certificate of occupancy has been completed by the Licking County Code Department, submitted to me. And then there's my signature on that application that I then forward to Licking County Auditor's Office. Because it's a tax abatement, they take care of that through the tax auditor's office. Whereas in a post 94, yes, there is school board approval would be required on this, but only for commercial and industrial projects, not residential. And I've had that conversation with Julio Valadares, the Newark City School treasurer, and make sure he was aware of it. You learn a lot when you start digging into these and reading the Ohio Revised Code. And he and I have had that conversation as well, so everybody's on the same page with this. Something I actually just learned probably within the last 60 days. So, but for commercial and industrial, not only does it require, might even be some council approval along with Newark City School Board approval. It may also require a written CRA agreement, which was not required for pre-94 CRAs. So that'll be an extra step as well. So great question.
Thank you.
Ms. Lyon, you have a question?
Well, that was my first question. My second question was, by doing this housing survey, what do we gain? Is it, or do we have possibility for more funding, or?
The housing survey is to show that we're meeting the requirements that this is a CRA area. Okay, that is dependent upon this additional economic development tool, i.e. the CRA, to help promote investment and additional economic development activity in that area.
So you said a CRA agreement would be required for the post 94 CRAs. What is that agreement? Who is that between?
Haven't done one yet. I'll have to look into that a little further. Check with the attorneys and probably get a template, and but I would imagine it would be between the entity seeking the abatement, number one,
Which would be the
which would be a commercial, well, no, let's say it's a commercial development, okay? So the entity, the business, let's use that word, that's seeking the tax abatement. And Licking County, because the auditor's office takes care of the tax abatements. The city of Newark basically authorizes and will also oversee these tax abatements through our annual Community Reinvestment Area Housing Council. We meet every March as required by ORC, and I have to have the reports for all of our CRAs turned into the Ohio Department of Development by March 31st. So all three entities kind of get involved, businesses, the city, and the county.
and the
Well, that's one. Do you see any possibility of looking here along the waterways, that there might be some federally protected lands through water, through, I don't know, because there might be some opportunities there as well for some federal credit.
Well, now you're talking federal credits.
Well, looking at these
And-
waterways, I mean, often low-lying properties, maybe in a wetlands, we might have a credit to pay.
That's probably outside of the guidelines of the community reinvestment area, which is a municipal tax abatement. And now you're going into something more federal, so I really can't comment it, but
Wherever you.
that
can
would be
find
my
money.
thoughts. So my initial thoughts would be that.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
I have a little bit of experience with that. If it is designated as a wetland, there would be federal funds that would be available to develop that land, but it would only be to enhance its ability to habitate wetland life
Okay,
animals. So yes, you could make it one half of a wetland for ducks, geese, Not for people.
There you go.
And again, the CRA is designed to promote economic development through business, as a business incentive. Okay,
All right, any other questions or comments?
Motion.
Motion for Barker,
Second,
second from Klein. All other questions and comments? All those in favor of passing consent of council signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That too pass the motion 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Butler. Time and knowledge. That concludes the service committee meeting and committee meetings for the evening. They will reconvene at 7 p.m. for council. Notice I look at you.
There's another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's